Hello and welcome to the Just Another Castle podcast. I'm your host Matt, and with me this week is our resident gaming journalist Eli
Hey, how y'all doing?
and our retro aficionado Unoclay.
Hello there, and welcome to Centaur Services.
I
Oh
don't
my
know if you could
gosh.
hear it. It's too quiet.
Yeah,
It was
welcome to Centaur Services.
welcome to Centaur Services. How may I help you? I am a man with a horse for a head and a human body on the bottom half.
I don't even know what that's from.
It's not from anything. I really am. Since this isn't a video podcast, I thought it was time to come clean and let you guys know what I really look like. That's a reference no one's going to get. Let's listen to
So,
this. So why don't we move on? How are you guys doing?
oh man. Who's that horse-faced celebrity, or the one everyone calls a horse face? Is that your
Sarah,
wife?
Sarah, the chick on Sex in the City?
Yeah. Is that your wife? Horse-faced
Sarah
Unoclay with...
her name is? Yeah.
Hmm?
She's pretty funny because she takes it in stride. Because I gotta give her credit. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Ed Wood with Johnny Depp,
No.
but she's in it, and in the film she's playing a movie actress, and in it they give her a line where she's reading one of her reviews, and she says, "I don't look like a horse." And she literally acknowledges it in a movie, and the movie's really good, by the way. If you've never seen Ed Wood, it's about the guy who made some of the worst sci-fi movies of all time. It's a must-see, and she really jokes about her own appearance being somewhat horsey, like me. So I can say that.
Oh, man. So
How you guys doing?
Good. So on to video games. So two things happened this week, for me at least. I went to go see Logan, and at the movie theater, I actually saw a Switch on display. I'm like, oh, cool, it's in a glass case. I better go over and look at it, because I don't know any other time I'll get to see it. And obviously I don't have it, but personally I think it's a bit small. I think it could be like, I don't know, 30% bigger or something, and I'm not really a fan that the buttons are like 3DS sized, because I think they're a bit small. Like I don't mind it for like a handheld, but if I'm gonna play it for long,
It sounds like you've got like kind of like manly jealousy there a little bit. You're like, it looks a little small. Like, and I'm here to tell you, bro,
I'm
it's
a big
perfectly
man. I need big buttons. No, I don't know. It just seems. I don't think I'd want to play a home console game with buttons like that for long periods. But
Eli, you want to rebut him or should I?
In terms of the size,
Yeah.
I mean,
does size
honestly, I
matter,
wouldn't.
Eli? These are the burning questions we need.
Yeah, I mean,
answered.
size does matter. If the Switch were bigger, and the battery could last for longer, so size matters because you can last for longer. Direct correlation right there.
Nicely played. I'm here to tell you guys that as a gamer with large hands, you know what I'm saying. I find it to be adequately sized, but in seriousness, I really do. I know I was worried as heck about it before I owned it and had it. Especially the buttons, especially like the layout of where the sticks and the button ratio for your like thumb to like move around is.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I have played around 20 hours of Zelda now, and then maybe a supplementary 5 hours of Blaster Master and Switch. So I haven't had one problem with it. And it does look little. It still looks little to me when I lay them down, like when I lay the controllers down, the Joy-Cons down on the table to go get a drink or something, I come back and I am almost every time I'm like, look how little they are, like for real, but as far as functionality goes, I think maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised someday,
There was, I mean, I don't know. I think that. So, I mean, I've got issues with the console size in terms of the actual fact that like it could probably be more powerful, so it was bigger. Actually, battery could last longer.
Yeah.
It looks flimsy. It still looks kind of like a toy. It's kind of weird. It's like especially disproportionately long, I feel, which is a little weird when you've got the Joy-Cons attached. And the buttons themselves do, I think, feel a little bit small. Not like really small, but a wee bit small, which is unfortunate because when you take the Joy-Cons off as a result to play them separately, it feels pretty cramped. But that's just me, I guess. And I actually have smaller hands, and So I'm surprised that it's as like I feel the way that I do. That I do.
Interesting.
Okay.
Well, we'll have to get Matt to chime in when he gets one eventually, and Mike. I don't know. Mike was talking pretty highly, but I can't recall what he was saying last time we met up, like about what he thought. He seemed to be very hot, very positive on the console, but I don't remember if he said much about the size of it. Yeah, I don't know. I was really worried about it, but my big, like, the way I had looked at it was like, it doesn't matter. You know, some kinds of games I'm going to use the Pro controller anyhow, so it's not a big deal. I'll just, have that as my out. And now I find myself being like, I'm almost like flip-flop entirely. Like, I've got to remember that, like, when Smash comes to Wii, when it comes over to Switch, to not continue using the Joy-Cons, because I'm going to screw up learning. I've talked before about how I learned on Brawl, and I think it's forever scarred me, because, like, I spent an entire Smash generation playing on crappy controls, and then because I was using Wiimote and Nunchuck, believe it or not, and then, here comes Smash
Poor
4.
bastard.
Yeah, no, and I had to relearn it. So it was almost like having no experience other than knowing how the game works. But almost like on like almost any other game where it was like I had to relearn everything, like bottom up, like even learn how things worked in the real way in Smash functions with a real controller. And now I like the Joy-Con so much. I'm like, no, I'll have to eventually buy a Pro controller. But it certainly took a big step down for me in terms of like precedence, where I'm like $70, you can wait, kind of thing. So, but anyway, yeah, neat. Well, it's good you get to see it at least. Too bad they were just taunting you with it in a store window and it wasn't like for sale or anything like that, actually.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was kind of funny because they had the left Joy-Con like half clicked in, like in some of the ad pictures. I thought that was kind of funny. I'm kind of hoping they make like an XL version, but I don't know the likelihood of that. I don't even know how much bigger it would actually be. Probably not enough.
It would be very big. I mean, like at this point, because the screen is exactly the size of the Wii U, but for some reason it feels bigger. There's just something about the form factor of it makes it seem bigger, since the console itself is slimmer and there's less like contour or like plastic around the screen. It makes it seem bigger. I don't know. I wanted to ask Eli about something about the system while we're on the hardware itself, since we're just getting back together after like 2 weeks. And
I didn't even, I wasn't on the podcast the first week after.
Yeah. Like, I wanted to ask you, you took it on the road a lot more than I did. I only took mine on the road for maybe a grand total of like 3 hours on a train, and that's round trip. So I obviously had no problems. Like I was in fact, I put it on airplane mode for like a lot of the time, just to kind of try that out. And then I realized, interesting factoid, you can't use the Joy-Cons disconnected from the system when you're in airplane mode. You have to play it like a tablet with the Joy-Cons connected to it, because Bluetooth. That makes sense, but I didn't realize it until it happened to me. I was like, I've got to keep them connected.
Oh, I didn't know that, but
apparently you can
my
edit the
plane didn't
settings.
crash, so like I'm gonna be pretty happy about that. No, I mean I flew on it 4 times and I never turned on airplane mode. I didn't know. Whoops. Like, I didn't think it would do anything. I was confused. I was like, why is there an airplane mode? The Wi-Fi is allowed on the plane anyway. I didn't realize that it was that Bluetooth wasn't allowed.
Well, I think battery. I mean, that would be the main reason to do it. It would save it saves a ton of battery to turn on to airplane mode, because it turns off Wi-Fi, obviously. Just to clarify for the listeners.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I mean, I enjoyed the I like my experience. I think it's great as a portable console, and that's where it really came together for me. What the Switch was, which I really believe is the Vita 2. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. The Vita was an excellent piece of hardware. I know neither of you two owned it, but I had a Vita. I really loved my Vita while it still had games. For literally the 12 months it had games. It was pretty fun to play, and the experiences were great, and I had fun traveling with it. It was excellently designed, and it was sleek and functioned quickly. And the Vita, was a very good piece of hardware. So I look at the Switch, and I'm like, I see so many similarities here on every level in terms of the types of games it's going to have, the messaging that is run by the company, take console games on the go, the type of third-party games coming to the system, all this sorts of stuff. I see a lot of parallels, and I saw it a lot when I was flying. And I'm like, all right, I'm playing a console game on the go. I'm not going to see any sort of like really incredible console games on here. It's not powerful enough for that. But some sort of light experiences, I think we'll see. And I flew across the country from Detroit to Portland and back from LA to Detroit with layovers. So I played it, traveling for 10 hours at a time. And I thought I had no problems with it.
How was your battery life and all that? Because like for me, like it's always hard to gauge that. First of all, it's new. So the real story is going to be in a year. Like how good's your battery life in a year? But like for me, kind of swapping back and forth between airplane mode. Because at first I was like, well, put it in airplane mode. It's the same way with your 3DS. You learned if you wanted to save the battery, turn off the Wi-Fi, turn down the 3D. You like learned that right away. If you were like me anyway, like that's how to make it last the longest on a flight without having to like plug it in. And for me, I know after like maybe an hour, I was impressed because my battery readout was only 75% or so, which is good. I was happy with that. That means I had roughly 3 hours or so of full playtime. With or without the Wi-Fi on, I'm not sure. Like I said, because I was kind of swapping back and forth. Like I would turn it for a little while. I was like, I had it off. Then I was like, no, I want to try it out in this like tabletop mode. So I had to turn the Wi-Fi back on, and like so I could detach the controllers. But I was pleased with that. But again, it's like kind of how is your battery life on the longer trips?
Yeah, I mean, I had the opportunity. I guess I forgot to mention that I shuttled to the Detroit airport from East Lansing. It's like an hour and a half driving a shuttle, and they had outlets. So my strategy was I played on the bus while I was plugged in, so it would be 100%. Get on the plane, and the flights were like 2.5 hour flights or 3 hour flights. So I would touch down. I'd have maybe an hour layover where I would recharge and then get on the other one. So I had no problems with the battery, except for I think the end of one of my flights I already was starting to run out of battery. But I switched to Shovel Knight, which drained my power less, just being a less intensive game to run. And that one went a little slower. I don't remember what rate the battery drained at, but I mean, I had no problems flying across the country with the thing.
Wow, that's great news. All right. Like, I mean, that's good. That's a really good report in my head because, for me, hearing the horror stories from people with smartphones, how they're always dying, especially if you use them intensely, like my general hopefulness was like, tell me I can get 3 hours out of this thing and I'll be psyched. Because frankly, my 3DS XL, I don't know that at this point of its life would go 3 hours like anymore. I suspect it wouldn't, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. Like I haven't put it to the test for a while. But 3 hours would be, I'm going to bet it's max. I'd be getting the orange blinking light. Like, so if I can get that out of a bigger, device on the go, I call it a win. And I already bought myself a couple like USB-C plugs. And I have some old like of those cell phone battery, like USB chargers that are like really janky, small ones.
Oh my God.
They won't do much. I mean, they're little. They're going to give me like 15 minutes more a piece, you know what I mean? But I got a bag of them. So it's like, I got them from my job and stuff like that back in the day. So it's like, I got those. So I'll have like another 40 minutes maybe in a bag there, like that I can plug in one by one as they run out, suck them dry like a vampire.
Man, I have now two portable chargers, each one about the size I checked of the Switch. So it should be able to give me a full charge. Problem is, so I take it on the trip. I go to plug it in and realize that USB-C is different from micro USB, and I just felt like a complete dumbass. I was like, I've got two of these portable chargers, and I can't even use them because I don't have a USB to USB-C. I only have the USB to the micro.
Yeah.
So that completely threw me off.
Yeah, they're cheap cords, but you got to have them. Yeah, it's like a for a cord. Yeah, like I didn't have any, so I had to like order them, and I got like a 2-pack for a deal on eBay, and they came in a couple of days and I was good to go. I just tested them out the other night. I'm like, okay, I'm set for my next flight. I got, I don't know. Like I said, I've got those dinky little tiny chargers. They're hilarious. Like they only charge the 3DS like 20 minutes, maybe more, so, I mean, I know they're going to do jack squat. So it's like, I know I'm going to have to buy a standalone brick. Like, I've seen people using for smartphones and stuff like the ones you're describing. But for now, I mean, the system's brand new. It's like it's gonna have pretty good battery life for the time being, anyhow. So I'm not really that worried about it. But so that's cool. Sounds like you had a pretty good experience with it traveling, because I haven't gotten to test that out much. I've been using it more like a home console, and I was thinking last night, I was like, I want to sit in a different room with my Switch, but I don't want to play on the little screen. I'm not really the guy that wants to play on a little screen. If I can play on a bigger screen, I just I'm not. And I want to give kudos, man, for the design of the dock. The dock took me, like, even with a TV where I've got like wires going freaking everywhere, it's like a pain in the butt to even get behind it to unplug stuff. It only took me less than 2 minutes to like unplug. All you have to do is unplug the HD cord, unplug the power. Dock is disconnected now. Walk upstairs, plug that back into the new TV. Bang, we're going. And like I was playing it on the TV. It was very simple, very straightforward. I mean, you know, as far as easy as you can realistically get, if you know, without it being a full Wi-Fi device somehow, you know, that you probably actually have to screw around with menus more if you were using a smart TV with menus and Wi-Fi. So it was simple. So I want to give kudos for that, because I was like thinking about buying another dock for another room, which I don't know, $60. It's not cheap, but it's not the worst price or whatever for a second dock. But I realized I don't really need it. I can easily move this dock within minutes, because I don't even have to move the HD cord. I just have to move the power plug, and it's simple. So,
yeah. And the an HDMI cord is like $5, so you just put it, even if you didn't have one, you just stick it in the other room, and then just move the dock with the Switch in it. Because I've had to move consoles and whatnot while making a video, and I keep moving my Wii U back to the TV just so I can play Zelda while I'm on the couch and whatnot.
right.
And yeah, it's the cords that, like, the fewer cords you have to move, the better. If you only have to move like the power cord, then you're banging.
Yeah, I was loving it. I was like, wow, this is great, because like I'm not going to spend a frivolous $60 right now, like on another dock. You know, at this point, this is too easy. Like, I am a real lazy American if like I can't even like unplug this. You know what I mean? Like, and then move it. Like, that's because I even have an HDMI cord sticking out from the TV for one of my my retro console upscalers. Like, that's like just like lying there. It's literally just lying there. All I have to do is like plug the dock into it, and I'm good to go. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, the neat. I'm loving the hardware personally, but you know, it's now people just need to be able to get them. Yep.
So
what?
I was playing Zelda, and I still haven't done a dungeon in the game yet. I'm on my way to the first dungeon, because I've explored enough where I'm like, okay, I'm done exploring for now. I want to start getting moving on. But there was. So one night I came home from work, and I'm like, okay, eat something, and then, you know, play like an hour of Zelda, and then, you know, go work on stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'll explore like these two small areas I figured would take like, I don't know, half an hour or something. And I get approached with the challenge, and basically what I'm told to do is, oh, you know, just do some of these easy tasks, and then, you know, you'll get a reward. But there's two twists, but I won't give the one away. The one sort of twist is that if you die during the process, then you have to start it all over again. And the whole process, I think, takes about 30 to 40 minutes. And I only have 5 hearts at this point. And there's a bunch of enemies, and you can easily get killed. So I died like the first time like fairly easily, based off of, I don't even remember how. It was just like a really stupid thing. And anytime I'm faced with like some sort of, at least in gaming, a challenge where I have some tiny iota that I think I can beat it, like I'll just get stubborn and continue playing it until I beat it or close enough.
It's a good gamer right there. That's good gamer behavior right there. Don't beat yourself for that.
Like, I can't lose to this. I know I can beat it. So I ended up spending like 5 hours trying to beat it.
Nice.
I thought it would take. I only thought I was going to spend half an hour. Nope, 5 hours later. Okay, I should go to bed now.
Without even knowing like what exactly you're talking about, that's one of the really, I mean, the whole world knows by now, Zelda is a freaking genius game, and it's amazing on every level. I mean, I think we all agree about that. Like, without even knowing what you're doing, that is one of the neatest features of the game, because you're just encountering stuff where you're not sure if it's doable yet. Mm-hmm. And I just think, I mean, I didn't have whatever experience you're talking about, but I encountered a monster in a section where I definitely, like, if you could have like a map of like the spokes of direction you've traveled from the starting point, it's probably the furthest from the starting point I traveled in one single direction.
Mhm.
Encountered this one monster. I won't spoil it in any way or fashion, even hinting what the monster did or does. But it was so powerful. It was defeating me so aptly. I wasn't able to damage it in any reasonable fashion that would give you even the hint that you could fight it. And I'm like, I had that temptation you're having. I'm like, I should spend a little while here seeing how much I could hurt this particular thing, like with a little bit of like gumption. And then I realized now I'm playing the game wrong. Like there's no wrong way to play a game, I suppose, but I'm definitely playing it wrong in this case. Like I cannot beat this thing in any fashion yet. I would have to spend I mean, I only have 4 hearts because, true to my word, I upgraded my stamina twice now. So,
Wow.
Ash, kind of a spoiler. But anyway,
No.
anyway, yeah, well, I know, but anyway, yeah. So I said it. But yeah. So I'm relatively weak still, and then I'm pushing into deeper into the game. I mean, I have played it 20 hours, so I'm not exactly in the starting gate anymore, and it's like. It's funny because I'm starting to feel it now where I'm like, I am too weak to fight stuff. But
How many whatchamacallits have you completed? Shrines?
I don't know, but maybe 10.
Yeah, I think
guess.
I'm at around, it's kind of insane when you think about it. Like, I've put, I think, probably 15 or 20 hours into the game, and I think I've completed 13 shrines.
Yeah.
15 shrines. I don't know, and you think about it and you're like, man.
Yeah,
this is
I know.
nothing.
I finally think the shrine was kind of hard last night. That was the first time, where with again no spoiler talk about what's in the shrines or anything like that for any of our listeners. But at first they were kind of easy, and now I finally found one that was like, huh, that was tough. Like I died in a shrine, and that hadn't happened to me before. It was kind of because of sloppy play, and partly because I only have 4 hearts probably, but. Still, I died, and I was like, and the puzzle was kind of harder in a little bit more sophisticated way, where I was like, finally.
And I'm starting to hit things where I won't have, or I'll have the item I need, but I'll have such a small number left of that particular item, where I'm super duper careful because if I screw up, I know that I won't be able to complete that specific thing. I'll have to go and find that item that I need.
I saw you were doing that on Twitter. You're like, I couldn't do it.
That's the cheater thing about it. Since this game has endless save states, the way it does, you could start cheating. But I know you're better man than that. So, because you could go back one save state to when you had the item fully replenished.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done it, but when you load up and you see look how often it saves. You know what I mean?
I didn't do that. There was one dungeon in particular, and actually that wasn't what I was referring to, Matt, until you brought it up again. There was one dungeon in particular that needed a very specific type of item, and I it was it. It didn't. I ran out of that one that I needed, and it's like, all right, dang it, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah, I don't mean to be rude, but I had to unfollow both of you guys because it was getting to the point where I was like, oh man, they're not even meaning to spoil anything, but they're just taking pictures of other stuff. And that's why I created a Twitter account just for saving my pictures, but I don't even want anyone to follow it. But I'm also trying to be conscious of not, now I've decided I'm just going to photograph funny things. That's all. I mean, I take pictures of my horse, and stuff like that. Oh, there's horses in the game.
I mean, the stuff you would probably post there is probably not spoilery at all, because I follow some people and I'm like, yeah, I could just go without having to see that. Thanks. Not everyone beat it in a week.
Yeah. There were some trending memes that I caught tiny whiff of, and that was when I made to decide that I was I gotta if I want to enjoy this game for the next 2 months, I will be, I gotta unplug from people that are doing this, because there were little meme jokes going around about Zelda that I started to catch wind of, and I was like, no, I really want to experience as pure as possible, because it's just unbelievable. It's just one of the best games in so long that Nintendo's put out, and it's just so rewarding, that it's it's the rare case where you're like, Mario, you can't really spoil Mario, You can ish, but not on this level, you know. And things Splatoon, you know, you can't spoil that. Like it's a shooting game, you know. It's what it is. But this is really like the surprises and the mystery of it are unlike anything Nintendo's put out in a really long time. You know, it's just you know, so it's neat. It's a very weird experience to be back in, you know, where you're like, wow, spoilers matter. Like they really matter with the game, you know. Like this is like crazy how exciting it is to go over a hill and see what's on the other side of this hill, you know, like that feeling, you know, like what's over here, you know, that kind of thing. So
and it's a game that Nintendo isn't actually spoiling. Because I know Mario Kart isn't really like a game where people probably care, but they did like show off everything before launch, and then with Zelda, it's like, oh, like I watched all three trailers and I kept like watching them for other stuff and whatnot, but it's like, yeah, they didn't really show off much in a good way. It's like it was enough to like get you interested, but it's like, okay, I still know nothing of this. So
yeah, this ranks up there with their all-time greatest releases in some ways, and I'm not afraid to say that. Like just what you're saying, like the management of the release and the like the way they didn't spoil it. Like they were confident enough in the game itself to like show you tiny bits of it and do like cinematic trailers, where the irony is cinematic trailers often give away way too much because they show you all the best moments. And this game is so huge that it's like, we'll show you tiny little bits of it, you know, tiny little snippets of it. And it's still going to be like, holy crap, this game, you know, like, holy crap, like what's in this game? So just can't say enough.
I mean, there were so many things that happened so well and things that lined up, like the Metacritic score that, like, you know, no spoilers in just that number, right? But you look at the Metacritic score if you're trying to avoid spoilers and you see 99 and you're like, oh my God, like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's universal. I haven't heard one person say something bad about it. It's crazy. You're just like, yeah, this is the best Nintendo game in ages, you know, since Galaxy. Like put it in perspective. Like take away the hyperbole. What's the last time something this big? Like Galaxy, is that the answer? Like, I mean, because Wii U didn't have anything that hit that.
And I think the incredible thing about Zelda is that it almost like has more staying power than Galaxy, in the way that Galaxy was an incredible game, but you can beat it in 8 hours and then, you know, you're done. But Zelda, you know, for weeks, it's what, how many, 2-3 weeks almost after its launch, even more. No, like 3 weeks. And people are still talking about it all the time on Twitter. And I mean, obviously, Clay unfollowed us, teardrop, you know, RIP for that. But, you know, it's still like in the present mind, Switch is still on everyone's minds. And if you didn't buy the console, you're still getting constantly reminded. And, you know, it almost launch software matters to an extent. But the fact that we're still talking about Zelda without any other first party games released yet, I think is pretty significant.
I know, and that's interesting coming from you because you're almost the quickest of us to be like, look at it like kind of a little bit industry like and be like, so where's the games? I could imagine you saying at this point, where's the first party? Nintendo, come on, where's your game at? And I was thinking about that today. I'm like, this is unprecedented because there is almost nothing on this system, and still, almost everyone who owns it sort of has to admit that they sort of don't care because they sort of have Zelda. And they sort of don't care. Like, that's the most insane thing because, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say original Wii did the same thing because between Wii Sports and Zelda on original Wii, it was kind of the same situation. Wii Sports hit the ground like a megaton bomb. Like, oh my God, you can play tennis with grandma. And that was the story. And then for the rest of everyone else, there was Zelda. And you were like, this is pretty good, you know, like this is a really neat system. And if you were lucky enough to have one, that was the story in itself. And it's a little bit the same here. I mean, it's not the same level of hype at even in the same league, not even close to the way Wii was, where it was like evening news stories about the Wii. No, this is not the same thing. But among gamers, it's certainly a system people want to get, and they can't get it quite yet. And that's, you know, as we know, that's the next story to come. Like, so what happens next, you know? But, yeah, so.
Yeah. I think we'll probably start moving on, but I did want to ask Eli one thing. You played Shovel Knight, Spectre of Torment. How was it like playing with a split D-pad if you played in that configuration?
So, funny story. I didn't actually use a split D-pad, I don't think, if I'm looking at my controller right now.
So you used the joystick?
I use the joystick for most of the game, and even with the split analog stick, if I did use it, which I mean I probably did at one point, I didn't imagine it to be a hindrance. I guess the point is I don't have any complaints about the controls, so I guess at no point was it that big of a hindrance, whatever I was using to control it. Um, and I mean the game itself, I reviewed it. I think the expansion is terrific. It's new mechanics. Like you don't use a shovel, you use kind of like the slashing move. You slash diagonally whenever you want to delete enemies or jump or boost or whatever. So there's a lot of platforming that involves diagonal types of platforming and jumping and traversal, and it's really good. It's challenging at the beginning. One of the things that the game does is you can play the levels through in any order, which is cool. However, it also means that you get a heart every time you complete a level, I think. If I remember. No, like every other level, you either get a heart or you get a stamina boost or magic boost. And what I found is that by the end of the game, I was going back and playing levels, and even though, maybe part of it was the fact that I was just getting better, but part of it was definitely the fact that I had more hearts and magic, was the fact that when I was playing levels, when I was completing the game, it was a lot easier than when I was beginning. And maybe that's an effect, just like link between worlds effect, where those later dungeons were easier than the beginning just because you had more tools at your disposal, you had more hearts. So that's just one thing to keep in mind, but I still think the game is very well put together and designed, and the level design is really good.
Nice. Yeah, it looks fun.
I can't wait to get it when it because the download content isn't available for the 3DS copies yet. Last time I checked, anyway.
Yeah. I think it's until April.
Yeah, that's what I looked up.
I'm looking forward to it. I love Shovel Knight like everyone else on the planet, so I'm really looking forward to it. And then the funny thing is, like, even though it's quite arguable that, like, why don't you make a new game and drop this whole, like, endless Shovel Knight release thing, even though you committed to it, I get it. But I'm like, it's long enough between releases that it's like, it's kind of fresh again. And I'm like, oh, this game's still so good, even though it's like they're kind of reusing the assets. Well, they are reusing the assets, and they're, reusing the levels and the designs and everything. Like, it's like, this game's still awesome, when I come back to it, so it's neat to have the excuse to go back. So I was really looking forward to it, especially now that 3DS is, like, for the time being, pretty thin on, like, the things that are new that you can play on it. So, I still carry my 3DS everywhere because I ain't taking the golden goose down on the train. Heck no. That Switch is staying in its dock. That's too valuable.
For now, at least.
For now, until I get those scratches, until I get some scratches on the store, So I bought a screen protector though, so I'm all good now. So, yeah.
So Uno, you said you played Blaster Master with the split D-pad. I was just curious because obviously with Nintendo games we've had that big D-pad that's, I don't know how to say it. It's not split obviously, and that's how a lot of Nintendo games have been made. But I figured, how does it differ with a split D-pad now that they're all separate buttons?
So I was worried about the two, and I didn't. It's not entirely a perfect fit, and I need to give it more time. But I can say first reaction is that it works. It does work. They didn't ship something that doesn't work to do what they're trying to do. But I mean, the real test would come, I would say, when they start releasing virtual console games that were originally on a regular D-pad, and then see how it feels side by side. Because Blaster Master Zero is a remake. Well, it's like a reboot. It's neither here nor there. It's not a sequel. It's called Blaster Master Zero for a reason, but it's almost like it's the same. It's the first game again, only almost better. And I know that's heresy, but original Blaster Master does have problems that make it a little less than fun, although it's a great game on NES. And the reboot is really, first of all, recommended. It's super fun. If you want a classic NES style platformer action game with kind of better graphics, a little bit more toward the Super Nintendo level of graphics, and fun play and everything that the original had, but kind of fixed in some ways. And if there's classic game fans out there listening, that could be heresy. But the original just doesn't have as many modern sensibilities as this does. They fix things like the way your weapon upgrades work, and I won't get too technical because not everyone's necessarily played original Blaster Master as much as I have, but It's more fun. There's save states more often. That's the biggest problem almost with the original Blaster Master, that it's like it's the kind of game you got to finish all in one sitting without turning your NES off. It's insane if you try to do it. At least for me, it's a hard game on top of that. But using the D-pad, to your question, it works, and I do it sometimes. But the sensitivity of the joystick is so good that you have like the sensitivity where you tilt a little bit and you go certain speed, and then you push all the way and you go a little different speed. So that really makes it feel completely different when you're using the joystick, that you can control much more with much more finesse. So I kind of tried to force myself to do it, but it works. I will say, using the buttons as the D-pad, the split D-pad as it were, it works. More to come, but it's not like we should totally panic, because I was the guy that was like, what the hang, like, what's wrong with you? Like, why would you do this to us? Like, this is part of Nintendo heritage to have a D-pad, and how dare you, kind of thing. Is this just a ploy to sell me a Pro controller? Like, what is this? But like, it works. So, first report is acceptable at the very least. It's functional. So.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's move on to some quick announcements. Bloodstained is coming to Switch. They finally announced it. Who knows how long until they finally axe the Wii U version, because I highly doubt they're going to release that in 2018 or 2019 or whenever the heck that's launching. Yeah, not a chance. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe runs at 60 frames per second with 2 people versus the Wii U, which was just 1, so that's a nice little bonus, I guess. And you get gold My Nintendo points if you buy physical games. You just gotta, register it. You just go to the game and press some option or whatever. Anyway, now into some news. So Super Mario Run is releasing this week on Android, and apparently is going to come with a new character. Eli, do you care anymore? 4 months later.
I'm sorry, what game?
He's
No, that wasn't a joke.
okay,
I got distracted for a second.
I thought I'd hang for a sec just in case it was Super Mario Run.
Oh, yeah, what game?
Android. Common Android.
But I mean, I'll buy it, I guess. I'm really peeved with Nintendo that they're putting it out so much later. Nobody cares about Super Mario Run. It would have been nice to actually play when people care. But I mean, I'll buy the game. I've got $10 in credit on Android specifically for this purpose that I got for cheaper than that. So I'll, screw you, Nintendo. Take my money.
I think it'll sell. I honestly think like it's just a whole nother vast market of like phones, and it's going to hit the iPhone store. And I predict just or not the iPhone store, the Android, whatever the East. What do they call it? What was the name of the store for an Android device? Like, how do you buy something? Like
the Google Play Store?
The Google Play. Okay, I was going to say, is it called the Android Store? Like I don't know what the name of it is. So it's going to hit the top of the chart over there too, because there's like millions of people who haven't played it yet. So, I mean, it's passé to some people, but Mario, dude, it's gonna explode, even if we don't care. I mean, wouldn't you think? I mean, it's like there's everybody else who heard about it, like, or they might not have cared then, but it's going to be on top of the charts again, and it's going to sell like crazy again. Wouldn't you say? Or do you? I mean, is there some?
Probably. I'm sure for one day it'll be at the top of the charts. I don't know. I mean, I guess so, but I don't think it'll be there for long. And it wasn't on the iOS charts for long either.
Yeah, I think it'll have less success than iOS.
Which is for the sake of me, which is the better selling device? Because Android is everything but iPhone, correct?
I mean, I think it's pretty. Maybe it's pretty equal-ish. Maybe I think iPhone probably has more. The iOS store has more users, but not by a lot. But I don't think that's the big thing. I think the big thing is just the fact that it's so much later and people don't care anymore.
I mean, I guess, the key would be, it's a little like something interesting about the phone market is that it's a little unlike console market, because it's not like with phones you have both. You typically have one or the other. And so there's I can relate it in a way to the way it is for me being a Nintendo only guy and retro and Nintendo only, like that. I don't care at all about like some game that comes out on PlayStation right now. But if you come over here on my Nintendo land and say, oh, so and so is getting a port over to Switch. I care a lot. All of a sudden, like I care a ton, and it may not be a good analogy, but I think sometimes quote care is dictated by accessibility. And for all those people who couldn't play it before, it was like the same way I react when there's like some announcement that's making all the Sony fanboys jump up and down. Like I'm like, neat, I'm happy for you, but I could care less because I can't play it. And there could be that effect there. It's like maybe people don't care, but I mean, like smartphone gamers aren't exactly an audience who care a ton about games in general, I would imagine. But the second they see it in the store and they're like, oh, dude, I love Mario, like whether or not they heard of it before, it's going to be like, I'll spend $10 on that. I'll put that on my phone. I love Mario. It's not going to, no hype is going to matter to them. No, like, oh, it came out like 6 months ago on this other on the other phone, like is going to matter to them. It's not going to impact it one way or another. It's a more of a point, like if it gets in front of them, do they buy it kind of situation. I would imagine, they're not reading like reviews of like gaming websites and like, oh boy, like Mario Run is coming tomorrow and it got a 7.9 from IGN, or whatever. Like they don't care, but it'll be interesting to see. Yeah. I mean, it'll be money in their pocket no matter what, I would imagine. So,
yeah. Eli, are you still playing Fire Emblem Heroes?
I played like 10 minutes of it total. No, I don't think I got past the first or second chapter.
Oh man, yeah. My next question was, did you even beat it? I haven't even bothered. Once Zelda came out, I'm like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you port it to the 3DS, please? Maybe Switch. Make it like download. You can still have the microtransactions. Make it free to play. I'll just won't play it on my phone.
Did they or did they not confirm? I think I'm remembering they did say this, that like none of the phone games are gonna come to Switch. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what they said.
They're saying that there's a firewall between the two. It's like these are phone only experiences. Yeah, it's it's what it is. I mean, like I don't blame them for thinking that way. At the same time, as the guy who's not playing them on smartphone, like if you told me I could play Super Mario Run on my Switch for maybe $5, I might consider it. So you just lost a sale, Nintendo. What can I say?
Would you like to play a lesser experience, Unoclay? Or would you rather download a virtual console game that's 10 times better?
It's a Mario game. I mean, people said it was fun. You know what I mean? Like I would play it for 5 minutes. Like 10 minutes, even 20, even. For $5. Like but
it's neat for some of the mechanics, but like I don't think you're gonna like die missing much.
Right on. Good stuff. What else?
Damon Baker, Nintendo's indie guy, was saying if it's on Steam, it should be on Switch. Unoclay, I think you were talking about this before. Thoughts? Thoughts
are, I agree. I would think that's the obvious market for them. We did hammer this to death on another episode, but that could be if you put me in a room with Nintendo and they said, don't talk about what game you want, talk about what we should do, that would be probably my top bullet point. I'd be like, you need to be the indie console that also has Nintendo games on it, and you win, because Steam has got to be one of the biggest growing segments in the gaming industry, given the amount of popularity, given the accessibility, given the affordability of the things on it. I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's just the circles I run in, but like, I know most of my friends that play games, they have 2 ways that they play games. They have one console and then they have Steam, and they waffle a lot the second they have to think about buying another console. They either have a Nintendo console and they really, really want the other consoles, but they're not going to spend all that money, but they still have Steam because it costs you nothing to put on your computer. And even if you don't have a super high powered computer, there's still a lot of games on there that you get for relatively cheap and play as long as you have a joystick. And that's genius. I would think Nintendo go with that. I don't know what it takes to make that happen, and I don't know if people sign exclusives with Switch that like would make this more difficult. For all the smaller or the more popular indie developers that are on a Switch on Steam. But I don't know, make it happen, because you want that hype that comes with Switch, because Switch is popular because it's affordable gaming, accessible to everybody, and you want that hype, that story. You want that story of like, oh, so-and-so, the new hot indie game. Thank God Mike isn't here, so he's not like throwing up all over us right now. But like, I was so happy when I heard him say that. Now just deliver on it. Don't just say it. Don't just like say it aspirationally. Make it happen. Tell me you're making it happen. I want to see like 10 to 20 decent quality indie games, Switch style games coming to Switch a month, like, and that would be a huge story for them that is going to lift this console, over the next coming years as it takes off, hopefully like a 3DS did. So
Yeah, it sounds like they're trying to curate who comes on the console and whatnot, based on what I read, and maybe they don't want to miss the Minecraft train again, so they're like, yeah, let's make sure we have these indie games on here because, like you said, it might explode. I do have one more thing, Eli. You should be interested, or I'm sure you have some interesting things to say about this. But Nintendo apparently said they're gonna double Switch production due to strong demand, and I know you were talking crunching numbers and whatnot. So, what do you have to make of this, Eli?
Eli, well, looks
Sorry,
like
I was on mute. Unfortunately, I think it's a little too early to really know. Sales out of Japan for the second week weren't the best. For those that don't know, like in its second week, the Switch sold like half as many as the Wii U did in its second week, and so we don't really know why. Whether there's our supply issues, whether it was just because of the holiday season the Wii U sold better, whether there just isn't enough interest or there aren't games engaging for the Japanese audience yet. Stuff like that. I mean, we know their third-party games sold terribly. I think Disguise sold like 3,000 units, and so did there was another third-party game that sold pretty terribly too. So just looking at that, it may be this console's just doing very well in Europe and the West, which from what we've been hearing, it's been a record-breaking launch for them. So the fact that they're doubling production, if that report is ended up true, I don't think that was an official announcement. I think that was a report, right? I think it's a positive sign, but it's too early, I think, to say whether what that really means. Because honestly, I sure hope that in its lifespan, the Switch will sell 16 million units, and the fact that it's being produced in its first year is great. It's definitely cheaper to produce more units quicker than it is to slow production, just because it's cheaper to develop more in general. So I'm going to stay kind of inconclusory. It's not even a word, but I'm going to make it up on whether this is a good or bad thing so far. I mean, obviously it's a good thing, but in terms of like whether those will actually move in a year. But realistically, if the Switch sells 10 million in a year, which I think is a realistic estimate, I think it's going to be closer to 8 million. But if it sells 10 million, that means producing 16 million in a year is definitely worthwhile, because that means you'll have stock ready to go for the next year, and it's not like completely out of the ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling about it, Matt? You haven't talked a lot this episode. Like, what are your thoughts on the big like number drop that we all got, like that you're talking about?
So to Eli's credit, yeah, it's the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is reporting it. I don't think it comes from Nintendo. I hate when websites say report, because what they really mean is rumor. And they're not specific about that. They're like, we're reporting
Well,
this.
not necessarily. I mean, a rumor would be like some rando Joe Schmo reports on it, or like some person on Twitter. A report, usually, if it's by the Wall Street Journal, that means that they claim that they've talked to people inside Nintendo that know what's going on. Like, there's a little bit more legitimacy generally with a report.
Yeah, no, I would trust the Wall Street Journal more with this sort of thing. I just mean like overall, when I see report on gaming sites around the internet, that's a different topic. But yeah, I don't know. I agree with Eli. I watched some of his videos on the numbers and what to make of them, and I agree. Like, it's still too early. Like, the thing hasn't even been out for a month yet, so even by E3, who knows if that's even a good enough time frame to really, guess where the system is going. By the end of the year will probably be a better idea, especially once more games start coming out.
Yeah.
Japan sales might pick up and whatnot, because it looks like we could have a game every month. There's Mario Kart in April, there's probably ARMS in May, and then probably Splatoon in June or July, maybe something in August, probably not. Probably some stuff in September, October. There's Fire Emblem Warriors, Mario apparently at the end of the year. Xenoblade 2 supposedly at the end of the year, as someone came out today and said it's happening. I don't buy that. Maybe in Japan, not over here, I don't think. But it looks like we're gonna get some more stuff each month. So I think the sales right now don't really matter too much. It will probably pick up, or at least has a better chance of picking up once the ball gets rolling.
Yeah, I think it's we can take the safe road here on our little podcast and say too early to tell, but it's good news to know that they are feeling like confident. Like, makes me happy for them, because I'm like, that's a good story for you on every side of it, because it's like saying, it's making a statement. This went well. We foresee demand. You know, they're going to be in the stores like relatively soon, which is a story in itself. Like, there's that whole like rumor right now. We're recording this on Monday night, and there's a rumor that GameStop in America is going to get more Switches on Wednesday, but there's no like official word on it. And I mean, we could probably spend a lot of time talking about the insanity of that. It's like, this is like a bit frustrating, because the thing we were worried about is happening again in terms of supply, because I have a friend who I took it to his house. He thought it was great. He played Zelda for 5 minutes and was like, and this is quite literally his first Zelda ever. He's never played a Zelda. And he's like, this is awesome. How do I get it? And I'm like, let me explain something.
Let's have the talk.
Well,
the answer is no.
He has a Wii U. Here's the irony. He has a Wii U. And I'm like, I'm talking him down from the ledge from buying it for Wii U, in fact, because I know he's the kind of guy that, like, if he doesn't buy a Switch now, he might not ever. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I'm selling him on the Switch. I'm like, see, if you buy it on Wii U, you're kind of going to be stuck there with your Zelda on the Wii U. You're not going to be able to, like, take it on the go. And you'll be playing this for a few months the way he plays games. So you might want to spend a month waiting and then get the game on the system you'll be able to take anywhere, versus buying it right now, which I grant you is understandable that you'd want to. You know, and I'm like, and he's like, so when can I buy a Switch? And I'm like, okay. I'll be as cautious about explaining this as I can. So I'm like sending him emails like, go to GameStop on Wednesday morning. Maybe you can get one. And he's like, he's gonna go do that. This guy wants it. This guy is a perfect like example of Nintendo. You could screw yourself here, because like he may just like go, if he can't get it on Wednesday morning and he shows up at a GameStop and he goes to the two near his house, he's gonna buy Zelda on the other system. And I don't know if he'll convert over to Switch later. I can't tell. You know, he might be like, that was cool. It was an awesome game. And Nintendo still gets a sale of a piece of software out of it. But, you know, the other story is then like, is he ever going to come back and buy a Switch? You know, like, is he going to see the reason later when Splatoon comes out, or Mario, you know, or another game that's not quite as impressive, you know, as Zelda. So who knows? But yeah. Maybe there will be more units soon, and this won't keep happening. But it's a little concerning to me. But little too early to tell.
Yeah. Eli, one thing. They said it broke records, and the Switch broke records even compared to the Wii, and like its first or second week or something like that. Do you think the possibility of that is because they didn't have pre-orders back then? We can't hear you if you're muted again.
Mr. Muty button.
Oh God, sorry. Okay, my bad again. So I think that could be a factor, although I didn't know that there weren't pre-orders for the Wii. Well, I think the biggest thing is just the fact that Nintendo
I don't want to say
said
sorry.
they have.
I don't want to say like it's impossible, it never happened, but I'm pretty sure like 10 years ago, like pre-ordering wasn't really a thing as it was like today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the big reason why the Switch has broken records is because Nintendo just had more at launch available. Mm-hmm. I think that's, you know, they said that they would ship a certain number of units for launch, and then they said that they would increase the number they originally planned for launch. So it's everything at launch sold out when the Wii launched, and everything at launch sold out when the Switch launched. And that's literally the only reason why it sold more. I don't think it has anything to do with interest, success, or anything like that. It's not an indicator of anything at this point. In Japan, it's going to be interesting. We're going to learn a lot from these next few months when Splatoon launches, when ARMS launches, whether there's movement. But other than that, I mean, I think holiday season is when we really get a sense of year one sales and whether this thing has momentum. Because launch sales will always sell out, and I think that the only reason it sold more was because of the allocation for launch.
Okay, interesting thought. I think we'll wrap it up there for this week. You can find me at Twitter, or you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at the Mango Viking. Eli, where can people find you?
So you can find me on YouTube. That's Nintendo Network 64. On Twitter at Paul Salon, and my rating at either Nintendo Enthusiast or Enthusiast.gg.
Cool. And Unoclay, what about yourself?
You can find me at centaurlovin.net and centaurbloglovin.net. And if anybody wants to get swap Switch friend codes, go ahead and send us a message on the YouTube video or wherever else you're getting your podcast from, because Matt's the one that kind of handles that stuff, and he'll relay it to me, and I can hook you up, because I only got 5 friends, which makes me feel really lonely right now, because I even...
Is that really why you're trying to sell Switch to people, just so you can have more friends?
No, comical last note. I know we've wrapped, but I got flagged on Miiverse for dare I make posts to my existing friends on a Nintendo system that I'd like to swap friend codes with them. Does anybody want to swap friend codes? That's all I even said. Does anyone want to swap friend codes for Switch? This is to people I'm already friends with on a Nintendo system, and I got double warned.
Well, obviously you were looking to molest people.
I was trying to molest my own friends. I know.
Don't you know the vast majority of sexual assault happens from people that you know, not strangers?
Look, I'm at centaur.net, bro. I know. All right, Matt. That's it.
Good stuff. So wherever you're listening, you can find us at Just Another Castle on every platform on the internet. We'll see you next time and leave gaming to Nintendo.